Yo, what's up, world? Welcome back to the channel, APW Sports signing in. And I know this is a usual football channel, but I'm gonna kind of switch things up a little bit. Now, as we all been anticipating and waiting for, The Last Dance Chicago Bulls documentary has come out. The first two parts has aired last night, and as you can see, I have my Bulls gear, but I don't have any Jordan gear. That's a whole nother subject to why I don't. But I don't have any Jordan gear. I don't have any Jordan shoes. That's a whole nother subject as well. But we're just going to talk about our reaction and just kind of talk about the things that we learned, the things that were said throughout the course of the first two parts of this documentary series. But be sure to leave a like on this video. Also comment your thoughts. Subscribe to the channel. That helps this channel to grow. And also make sure that you guys are staying safe throughout this whole quarantine. I know this is a different kind of normal for all of us. Me, I'm a bit of a homebody myself, so this is not really new territory for me per se, but I still can't wait till we get to some certain part of normalcy. Because at the end of the day, we all miss the outside world. So we just have to do our part in staying safe and just get rid of this thing as quick as possible. Also, a special thank you to all the first responders, the healthcare workers, the essential workers, everybody that's out there just grinding it and just putting their lives on line so we can stay in and make sure that everything goes smoothly. But not going to do too much more talking. Without further ado, let's dive into it.
I'm striving to get rich. That's why I almost went 2 years without buying shoes and fits. Things change now. My mom hearing me with my music and she look a little prouder.
Now, a lot of the things that were said, I'm kind of a researcher myself as far as the things that happened throughout the course of that last dance. The last season of the Chicago Bulls. I'm going to give you guys a little bit of background. I was a 6-year-old kid at the time. Yes, 91 baby. I was a 6-year-old kid at the time that season was going, 97, 98. About to turn 7 after the summer after the last championship. So I really wasn't at the age or at the mind process where I can really just take in what's happening. I wasn't at that age where I can really just understand what was going on, understand what was happening throughout the Bulls run. I was only old enough or remembrance enough to really remember the last 2 to 3 championships, definitely the last 2, but I wasn't at that point where I watched and seen everything. Most of the things that I've seen before this were either other specials that were done, other people talking about it, or just watching highlights and things myself. So I was going into this with a kind of perspective where I kind of want to see some things that I necessarily did not know, or kind of harping some of the things that I already knew about this Bulls run, this Bulls team. But a lot of the things that were said about Jerry Krause, I kind of did a little bit of research on it even before this documentary was even known to me, as far as him wanted a lot of the credit for building the team, him wanting a lot of the credit for establishing the team, him wanting to rebuild the team so he can get more of the credit for what had technically transpired versus the credit was going to Michael, Scottie, Dennis after those 3, and Phil. So a lot of that was, I want to say, not new information to me, but it was still just kind of insightful to learn even more deeper details into what was really going on in Jerry Krause's mind at that time. And for him to really think about trading Scottie Pippen was kind of just like, it was kind of almost like one man's real huge ego really ruined one of the greatest dynasties In the history of sports, the Bulls were absolutely just dominant in the 90s era. I mean, dominant. Especially going 72-10 and getting a championship, i.e. Warriors. The Bulls era was one of the best eras in sports, not only because of Michael Jordan, of course. It was more of the system that they had in place. And for him to want to trade Scottie, for him to have the relationship that he did with Phil Jackson, not only inviting the next head coach after Phil to his wedding, but not inviting Phil at all when, number one, you hired Phil because Krause was the GM from 85, I want to say, if I remember seeing this right, 85 to 2003. So he was the one that employed Phil into that position. And for you to really want to blow this up, a team that, let's say, like I said, was the greatest dynasty in sports, in order to boost up your own ego, it was kind of weird that he was allowed to stay that long, knowing what the Bulls have done for not only Reinsdorf, for just the city of Chicago, the city where I'm from, the city of Chicago alone. It's kind of weird to me. And for one man's ego to really ruin the dynasty is kind of just weird. And then the things that were going on with Scottie. Before that, Scottie was really wanted to be traded. I couldn't say before that, but it just really came to a head when all that was going on. For him to say, well, let me give you a little bit more. That 7-year, $18 million contract that he signed in 1991, I want to say that is just chump change compared to the money that players are making now. Players are making $18 million in 1 year now. A lot of players are making that in 1 year. And just to think about the way the NBA is now, where you're getting 4-year, $200 million contracts, Scottie signed a 7-year deal for $18 million. And to think that man was top on the team and top 2 on the team in rebounds, points, assists, steals, all those statistical categories, for him to be the 122nd highest paid player in the NBA at that time, for him to be an all-team, first team all defense 8 times, for him to be second team all defense twice, for him to be a 7-time All-Star, for him to be one of the 50 greatest players in the history of the game, for him to be lowballed that much. Number one, his agent should have been fired for having him sign that kind of deal. That's number one. I just want to make that clear. His agent should have been fired for having him sign that deal, especially for the value that he could have made and the value that he was potential to make. For signing that kind of deal, he should have been fired. But neither here nor there. But even the owner himself told Scottie he should not sign that deal. And when he signed the deal, I don't know why Reinsdorf has this policy where the player cannot renegotiate his deal, especially seeing that the value that Scottie had on these 90s Bulls. I don't see why they didn't renegotiate with him. I don't see why they didn't just kind of not butter up. I'm trying to think of a better word. I don't get why they kind of just didn't solve the issue that they probably could have seen was coming, because Scottie was wanting more money for a while before this last season. If you really look into their history, Scottie was the guy that wanted his money for a while. And for him to even injure his foot the season before, and for him to say, I'm not going to fuck up my summer rehabbing so I can do it on their time, to kind of let the organization know his impact on the team, is really just damning to me that the whole front office ego, even for the Bulls now, the whole front office thing was a bad thing when they were winning championships. That just lets me know how bad the Bulls front office has been for so many years. Even when they were winning championships, Michael, Scotty, and Phil did not trust the front office. They did not get along with the front office. That is a bad thing. And for Scotty to say he's not going to fuck up his summer and to go have the surgery later, I can get Michael Jordan's point when he said he was being a little bit selfish. I can get that. But I also understand why Scotty would do that. Because you're not going to pay me. At the end of the day, it's the title The Last Dance for a reason. So the whole team really knew that this was it. This whole title run was it. This whole 97-98 season was it for them to pass out booklets to say The Last Dance. Everybody knew it was over. And it's kind of weird going into a season like that when you know this is the last run. You're going for your 6th championship in 8 years. And for you to know that this is your last run at it makes you go into the season with a bit of different type of mentality, a different mindset. You're just going for a whole different reason versus let's keep this going until it really stops to work. But it's just weird that this whole documentary is shedding a light pretty much on how good Jerry Krause was as getting free agents, how good he was as getting pieces that fit into the system, but it shows a light on how much an ego can really ruin things, not only with the organization, just in the locker room, period. It just sheds more of a light. I hate to really insult people like that. I hate to really, but at the end of the day, I'm just going to say it loud. It was a bit of a dick move for all that. It was a bit of a dick move. And it's crazy to think that this whole man's ego kind of killed the Bulls dynasty. You're not keeping the coach that got you to 6 championships after a year. They even said, even if he goes 82-0, he's still gone. Why? Especially when the man has delivered you 5 championships. Even the years Michael wasn't there, the Bulls were still a very, very, very competitive team. Even without Michael, it's just Michael's play and his leadership and his mentality took the team to a whole new level. But it is kind of weird that this whole documentary is really kind of shedding a light on how bad the Bulls front office really is. It's just crazy. And I understand why Scotty did what he did. I understand it a bit because you're not going to pay him. You're not going to renegotiate his contract. The front office doesn't see his value. You are already saying that this is it. So let me go. Let me get out of here. You don't want me. You don't value me. I can just go somewhere where somebody values me, and not only monetary reasons, just values me, just period. So I can understand why Scotty wanted to get out. I'm kind of, it would be weird. Me as a competitor myself, I don't think I would have probably done it that way, but I'm not going to sit here and just say he was wrong for doing that. I get it. I honestly get it. And this whole documentary is just interesting in more information that I can learn about these Bulls teams and how all the pieces kind of came together and how everything was during that season. It was just, I think it was a clash of egos. Mainly Jerry Krause's big ego where he wanted all the credit. And when I say something, and when I was watching it, I kind of reflected a bit on a certain situation in the football. Yeah, I'm comparing it back to football. Where Jerry Jones of the Dallas Cowboys back in the early 90s wanted a lot of the credit for building the Dallas Cowboys dynasty teams where they won 2 Super Bowls in 3 years. And to fire Jimmy Johnson after winning his 2nd Super Bowl reminds me exactly of how Jerry Krause wanted the credit and let go of damn near the whole roster after winning 6 championships in 8 years. It reminds me of that a lot. It really reminds me of that a ton. Me being a Chicago guy, of course I want to learn more about it. Of course I want to learn more why and all that. I'm just kind of, it's a little bit upsetting that Jerry Krause is no longer with us to really have his 2 cents at it into this special, but a lot of the things he was saying, as far as everybody on this team is open to trades, and we had the deal for Scotty, we had offers we wanted, especially in a time like this where you're going for your last one. It's kind of weird. It's kind of damning that he just wanted a lot of the credit for building a team, and he was going to get that credit anyway, honestly, because you're the GM throughout, basically more so than Michael's whole career as a Bull. Michael got here in '84, and you get GM in '85, so you were basically here throughout the most point of Michael's entire Chicago Bull career. And for him to really have that ego to say he wanted the credit, it's just ego tripping. Egos come with it, but sometimes you just have to check those egos at the door, especially when you're having so much success the way the Bulls were at this time. I just wish we would get back to that now, but it's just, I'm interested to see parts 3 and 4 where they kind of previewed that they were going back to the Piston days, to the days where they kind of really started to feel some adversity before the championships, and really, I think that point is really kick-started this 90s dynasty, because they couldn't get past the Pistons, but I'll leave that for the next review. But yeah, guys, that's all I've got for this review on the Last Dance Bulls documentary. Be sure to like the video. Leave your thoughts in the comment section down below. What did you take from it? What did you learn? And if you're from Chicago like me, how was it really in that time frame? How was it experiencing this and seeing all this going on? Like I said before, I was too young to really experience, to really comprehend what was going on. I was only a 6-year-old child at this point. So yeah, leave your thoughts in the comments, and leave that in the comment section as well. Also subscribe to the channel, as it helps the channel to grow. And be sure to keep up with me on Instagram and Twitter. Both handles are APW Sportsman. Both will be linked in the description below. Guys, I just want to make sure that you guys are staying safe out there. Be sure that you're doing your part. And thank you again to the first responders that are really helping us through this tumultuous, and I don't think I said that right, just helping us through this just weird times for this country and this world. But that's all I've got. I will see you guys next time. Make sure you just have a great and excellent day. Peace.
I wanna say thank you to my mom and my daddy for making love the night that you had me. Wanna thank my friends, my sister, and my brother.